Welcome to SportsBanter. This is Bryce, and today we're talking about AEW Dynamite here for Fyter Fest Night 1 in Cedar Park, Texas. Before we get started, I just wanted to say that this Dynamite episode was one of the best in a long time. I really enjoyed the entire show, and that's something that was really hard for me to think in the beginning. I mean, I thought it would be a great show, but man, I was blown away by how this show was. Let's start now with Jon Moxley versus Carl Anderson for the IWGP United States Championship. And I'll be honest, this is one I may forget. It was a very good match for what it was. It wasn't very long though, but there was nothing that stood out to me, nothing that was too special. It was great to see Carl Anderson in a one-on-one situation, but it was just a 7 to 10 minute match to open the show. Nothing too crazy going on, and Jon Moxley wins with the paradigm shift to retain the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. And then we come back to see that Lance Archer is still craving the IWGP United States Championship, looking for a second run with that championship belt, and it looks like they're going to recreate their Wrestle Kingdom Texas death match as next week, Fyter Fest Night 2 in Dallas, Texas. It's going to be Jon Moxley versus Lance Archer and another Texas death match for the IWGP United States Championship. I'm really excited to see that go down. I watched their New Japan match. It was great. Let's see what AEW can do. Let's see if they can maybe do it better, maybe one-up New Japan in the Texas death match stipulation. Next, we get a segment with Andrade El Idolo looking for a Death Triangle. I think that was pretty good. And I'm very excited to see, the Mexican connection between Andrade and the Lucha Brothers. So we'll see where that goes. But I think it could be an interesting feud for Andrade El Idolo. Then we have one of my favorite matches of the night, Brian Cage versus Ricky Starks for the FTW Championship. And this was a very good match. This is Ricky Starks' return to action since his neck injury. And man, Ricky Starks looked amazing. The crowd was so far behind him. And the end result ended up being that Ricky Starks, with some interference from Team Taz, turning on Brian Cage, Ricky Starks hits Brian Cage with the title, and I think it was a spear that pinned Brian Cage for the win, and Ricky Starks is the new FTW champion and the face of Team Taz. Really excited to see where Absolute Ricky Starks goes. Also interested to see where the Machine Brian Cage goes, as Brian Cage was pretty much booed in this match. Ricky Starks really was cheered in this one. Ricky Starks is definitely the heel here, and it's interesting to see what's next for the Machine Brian Cage. And then we get an abrupt interruption from the American Nightmare Cody, and Cody was still upset from last week's debut of Malachi Black. By the way, what a debut for Malachi Black in AEW. That was probably one of the best debuts in AEW history, and now Cody Rhodes, pissed off of that debut, pissed that he kicked Arn Anderson in the head last week, called out Malachi Black with a nice cryptic promo, and Cody basically called him out saying, "Come out here now," and Malachi Black said, "Let's go." They each met each other in the ring, and they started going right at it, and man, this was excellent, an excellent way to really build up the tension between the two, build up the hype between a future matchup between Black and Rhodes. Hopefully, this will be at All Out. Maybe even we get a sneak, a little bit of a treat having a match like this on Dynamite. But that might be a little bit too much to ask for, as this could be easily a pay-per-view-esque matchup. Then we get Tully Blanchard being interviewed by Alex Marvez, but then Santana and Ortiz look to attack Tully Blanchard, but it ended up being a little bit of a warning. So the tensions between the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle are still running wild here in AEW. Just a reminder that that hasn't gone away, and you'll see more kind of hype later in the show between the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle, that being Chris Jericho's 5 stipulations until he gets a match with Maxwell Jacob Friedman. And then we get one of the best stories in wrestling. I'd say it's one of the best stories in wrestling right now. Hangman Adam Page's road to redemption. And so Tony Schiavone interviewed Hangman Adam Page, and Hangman, he was ready to call out the Elite. The Elite come out, interrupt that promo, challenge Hangman, just saying, Ben, you are alone. You are not going to do anything in life. But Hangman Adam Page really had some confidence tonight. The Dark Order really lifted up his spirits in the past. And then the Dark Order came out to support Hangman Adam Page. Long story short, 5-on-5 elimination match coming soon to AEW. And if the Dark Order and Hangman Adam Page lose, Hangman Adam Page is going to leave All Elite Wrestling. That's a huge curveball that I did not expect. You definitely know that Hangman's not going to lose this time because, man, it could be his career over in All Elite Wrestling if Hangman and the Dark Order lose. But it's still going to be a great match, great storytelling. This storyline is perfect. I love it so much. And, hey, if the Dark Order and Hangman Adam Page win, the Dark Order is going to face the Young Bucks for the AEW World Tag Team Championships in a future title shot, as well as Hangman earning the AEW World Championship title shot against the belt collector, the best belt machine, Kenny Omega. So now we are talking about the stipulations. So Chris Jericho's talking to Alex Marvez about the stipulations, and Shawn Spears comes out of nowhere and attacks Chris Jericho. And that's when MJF shows up to reveal that the first match is going to be against Shawn Spears. And the stipulation is that Shawn Spears can use a chair, where Chris Jericho cannot use a chair. I think this is a very interesting stipulation. I kind of like it. It's very unconventional from a sports-based wrestling, but this is unfair stipulations placed by MJF. And I also am going to give AEW applause for doing something different. It's a really weird concept, but it's a very new concept. So I'm all for it for this storyline. Any other situation, I think this would be completely stupid. But it being where it is, it's fine where it is. I'm going to enjoy it next week. And yeah, Chris Jericho in action next week on AEW Dynamite. Then we have a big match between Big Money Matt Hardy versus Christian Cage. Two legends wrestling it out in the ring. I'd say it was a pretty solid match between the two. Nothing too crazy, but I also think it's kind of like, I know I said the same thing for the opener, but I think that this match exceeded the quality of Jon Moxley versus Carl Anderson. In the end, Christian Cage won with the kill switch. I will be honest, I thought Matt Hardy was going to win for a second when he got that low blow out of the referee's view and hit the twist of fate. So that near fall really shocked me. It really did work me, if I'm being quite honest. But then Christian Cage hit the kill switch, and I knew from then it was over. So after the match, of course, the Hardy family office was trying to attack Christian Cage, but out comes Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus to save the day. Maybe it's a 6-man tag in the future. Maybe this also goes nowhere. We'll have to see what AEW plans to do with this storyline going forward. I have no idea what could be in store. I would get a 6-man tag out of this because it's a match for TV. I think it's very compelling. Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and Christian Cage versus Matt Hardy and Private Party. It books itself well. And I don't know if this match already happened, but if not, let's make it happen. Why not? Better late than never. Then we get a video package from the TNT champion, Miro. And man, he has debuted a new title belt design for the TNT Championship. Basically just changing the colors. I love it. It's so great. It really fits his Redeemer character. The belt being white with the green ribbon, kind of, the references back to God and him being the Redeemer. It fits his whole new gimmick, and dude, his gimmick is one of the best in All Elite Wrestling. He plays it so well, and it just keeps evolving. It keeps evolving over time, becomes more complicated, more complex, and that's really the character work we need in All Elite Wrestling. And Miro really showing how great of a character he can have, something that he didn't have in his previous company. Then we get the segment between Tony Schiavone and Dr. Britt Baker. And Britt Baker cuts a hell of a promo against Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero. Shots thrown at both of them, hyping up their AEW Women's Championship matchup next week. And man, I'm excited for this match. The build to it hasn't been the best, especially Rebel having some sort of it looked like a knee injury 2 weeks ago in the tag match between Vicky Guerrero and Nyla Rose versus Rebel and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. So hopefully Rebel is going to get better, but I'm excited for this championship match. Next we have Wheeler Yuta versus Sammy Guevara. And this match was a little bit shorter than I expected. I thought Wheeler Yuta would get a little more offense, but I very much enjoyed this matchup. I'm a pretty big fan of Wheeler Yuta. All of his matches I've seen in New Japan and AEW have been excellent. They've been pretty great. I love Wheeler Yuta as a wrestler. He reminds me of a Zack Sabre Light kind of wrestler, technical wizard in that ring. But Sammy Guevara, man, he's on another level. He needed a win after 2 weeks ago, that screw job against MJF. So I'm glad Sammy Guevara is getting some kind of momentum going into the next few weeks here on Dynamite. We skip QT Marshall because I really don't care about QT Marshall. Next, we have Penelope Ford versus Yuka Sakazaki, and I think this was a solid match. Nothing too standing out to me. I saw Yuka Sakazaki's return match on Elevation against, I believe it was Kylan King. Kylan King was very good in that match. This match here, nothing too much stands out. Penelope Ford, I don't think she botched. So that's always my thing, is that she botches every match. Didn't see a botch here, so Penelope Ford is improving in the ring. But in the end, Yuka Sakazaki got the win, which kind of shocked me. I thought Penelope Ford was going to pick up the victory here tonight, but Yuka Sakazaki, the magical girl, picks up the victory. Maybe AEW does something with her. Could be a future challenger to Dr. Britt Baker. We'll have to see. But then we get our main event of the evening, Darby Allin versus Ethan Page in a coffin match. This was a really fun match, really brutal match. I loved it. Both men did a phenomenal job with the coffin spot, with Scorpio Sky rising from the coffin. I thought it was a pretty good thing. I wasn't too much against it. I feel like that was something that divided some fans as to why Scorpio Sky was in the coffin or something. I mean, it was fine. And then Sting comes out. It kind of made it better. I liked their little brawl and interaction. The match itself, I praise it for its creativity. For the first coffin match, it was a very fun match, very brutal match. And then Darby Allin wins. He hit the coffin drop. No, he was trying to hit the coffin drop onto the steel steps, but Ethan Page was the one who hit the Ego's Edge onto the stairs. That was a brutal spot. In the end, Darby Allin hit the coffin drop, put Ethan Page in the coffin, won the match, and then he coffin dropped the closed casket, which was crazy and really shows Darby Allin as an insane character. We'll have to see where both men go going forward. I don't know what's going to happen with either of these men. Hopefully Ethan Page goes on to another entertaining feud, because Ethan Page I think he's very talented. He proved his worth in this match. And, Darby Allin, one of the rising stars in AEW, he's going to have a great career here in AEW if he stays healthy. That's the big if he stays healthy, because Darby Allin puts his life on the line. We don't want that to mean that Darby Allin has a short stint here in AEW. Darby Allin needs to be someone who is a long-living legend. That would be phenomenal for the AEW brand. Before we sign off, we're going to talk about the card for next week real quick. Like I said before, AEW Women's World Championship. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, defends against Nyla Rose. Giving a quick prediction, I think Britt Baker's retaining. Then we have Jon Moxley versus Lance Archer in a Texas death match for the IWGP United States Champion. I'm going with the upset. I say Lance Archer's taking the title back, and he'll show up at New Japan Resurgence on August 14th if he wins the IWGP United States Championship. And I think that it could happen. So I'm going Lance Archer. He's been sitting around in AEW doing nothing much. I think Lance Archer's going to take the title in a shocking fashion. No one's going to expect it, but Lance Archer's going to be the man to do it. He's going to show up to Resurgence, and I think that Moxley and Archer is going to have a rematch at Resurgence, in which Moxley's probably going to take back the title. But I think that this will be an interesting storyline to have, that Jon Moxley's dropping the IWGP Heavyweight Championship on a AEW show. Also, we got Chris Jericho versus Shawn Spears. I think it's obvious Chris Jericho's going to win. Even though the odds are stacked against him, Jericho will find a way because he is Chris Jericho, damn it. And I don't know why we're ending on a match between Orange Cassidy and The Blade. I think it's obvious Orange Cassidy is going to win because Orange Cassidy is the star. So with that all being said, I thank you for watching this video. Next week, Luca should be with us, although the video is going to be out a little bit later because we're going to be probably waiting on Luca. We're going to have some more dynamic recaps for Dynamite. So, with that all being said, subscribe for more, subscribe for better, and until next week, sayonara.